Hey everyone, this is Kristen at Goodknitkisses, and I am coming today on a lunch break, as always, but I'm not in my car this time. I've been experimenting with the figure eight stitch, and you may be familiar with the little video I did on how to do the figure eight. I had already cast on and done a purl row, and then I went ahead and started on a flat panel and showed it to you, and then I started increasing, and we increased on this side, and then we came over and increased on the other, and then added 2 rows, and then did it again. I added a couple more increases, and I think it comes out nicely if you can look at that, doing some shaping. And then I came to this middle section and decided to keep going in a flat panel for a while, and just to show you, I'm on the all-in-one loom from Knitting Board, and then down here is I cast it on 10 plus 1, so 11 pegs, and I had increased it a few more times, 3 on each side, and then I wanted to start decreasing, and I wanted to show you why it's good to experiment and play. I haven't never done this before, but I was going to, and then people were asking me about doing the increase, and I want you to see how, excuse me, I'm trying to move this around without equipment today, but I want you to see how, now you may or may not notice it, but I notice it, it looks uneven. Here, I'm going to set this down. It looks a little bit uneven here and here and then here and then here. That's because those are the decrease rows and the way that I was experimenting. And the way I was doing it is, my stitch marker came off. This is the original size. What I was doing is I came and I was finishing up my row over here, and I was going to start decreasing, and where I would normally come to the end of the row and then E-wrap before I finished that row on the last slip stitch, well, what would be the slip for the next, I would actually pick this up and move it over to the next peg, and then do my E-wrap, and then on the next row back to the left, then I would start my figure eight and then keep moving on. I did that for several rows because, well, for a couple of reasons. I wanted to see what it looked like when it was kind of pulled out and it wasn't so tight. It's hard to tell when it's right up at the very top because they start stretching, because this doesn't look in joint right there. So just to show you what I did. Oh, I tossed them off again. Aren't I fun? Just cracking myself up today. I wanted to show you how I did it the next time, which I thought was smooth, and you can let me know if you think it's smooth or not. I'll turn this over again and lose my stitch markers, but what I'll show you I did was, instead of doing it the way we did it before, once I finished off knitting my row like normal, knit off that last stitch, and then before continuing on and keeping it the same size, I'm moving the second peg over to the third peg, and I'm trying to do this one-handed. Move that over, and then I'm going to pick over my first peg and move it to the second and go ahead and tighten that up, and then I'm going to E-wrap the second and the third peg, do that figure eight stitch on the second and third peg, and then we would knit off. You can knit off the first stitch and then knit off the second, and then knit this one off, and then continue on your way down, wrapping, skipping the first peg next to your working yarn, and then wrap the second, and then come back and wrap the emptied peg. Get back in focus here, and then wrap that. And then when you come back, after you do this row here, we're going to, sorry, I'm trying to do this left-handed and hold the camera. I've already wrapped that. Okay, and then you've got one more figure eight. We're down at the last 2 pegs. Take that figure eight, knit off, and you gotta hold your mouth right. Okay, now this is where I wrap that last peg that I was talking about. Wrap your peg. You're just finishing up a row. Okay, now I've tightened my work up, and then I'm going to take my second peg over from the end, okay, and then I'm going to move it, and then I'm going to move the first peg over to my second peg, and now this becomes my 1 and 2. Go ahead and tighten that up, Okay, now you're going to do your figure 8 stitch on the second and third, the new second and third peg, and you'll have 2 stitches on this second to last peg. You're going to knit those over, and then you're going to continue on your row and then leave it as one flat panel. You're just going to continue the end and then do one more row in each direction. So you add 2 more rows as a foundation, and then you just keep going. And so when you're doing shaping like this, you don't have to do it on both sides unless you're trying to make a triangle. But if you have a loom like this one here that doesn't allow starting and finishing as one big giant triangle, you can start on one end and go all the way around to the other side, or whatever point you need to, just increasing and adding rows to the length until you get it to the point that you want it. And obviously you wouldn't connect the two if you end up using this one all the way over to the last second to last peg or whatever. Leave yourself a gap, and then you would start your decreasing and then go all the way back and make sure that you've marked, you know, how many rounds in between you're making. You can make it as an acute angle, small, or as wide as you want. So this is just one way to decrease this figure 8 stitch. I hope this has been helpful, and I'm going to just turn this over real quick so you can see the finished result. Sorry, I'm going to try and make this a little bit easier, but if you can tell that this is a smoother edge than this edge down here. Do you see how this is smoother and then this is bumpier? It's because this is the first way I showed you. So the one that I demonstrated on is this one here, and it's a much smoother edge. There's a little bit of light here, but see how this is much smoother, and then there's the bumps back here for the other version. So anyway, thank you again for tuning in to Good Knit Kisses. Have a great day and happy looming.